What's good, people? CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory tapping in. We're back with another underrated debut episode, but this time we're strictly speaking 21st century releases. For this list, we're highlighting the unsung debut albums from 2000 to present day that simply don't get the shine they deserve. This serves as a part 2 to our underappreciated debuts list. And of course, you won't see any of the top 10 albums we mentioned in our all-times debut ranking. As you can see, we got hella work on the channel, so hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend if you're feeling the content. Alright, let's get to it. Rich Boy, self-titled. If there was a rapper kit you could buy to blow up, everything needed out the door, Rich Boy 100% had it. Accessories would include a unique voice, top-tier producer in your corner lacing you with fire beats, a blazing hot single with accompanying memorable remix, and hailing from a city or state that was untapped in hip-hop. He could claim sole responsibility for opening doors if anyone was to follow in his footsteps. The yellow brick road to success was laid out clear as day. All he needed was the quality of the debut to match the hype of the single, in this case, the catchy Throw Some D's. Thankfully for those whose curiosity got the best of them and decided to cop his self-titled 2007 debut, you likely were pleasantly satisfied. Using his voice as almost an instrument, his southern drawl crawls over Polo the Don production with bangers like Boy Looka Here, Get to Poppin', as well as the Big Boy and Pastor Troy featured and I Love You, the latter being one of the few non-Polo produced records. Shout out to Mr. DJ for that one. Before you say we're gassing the album, know that this is CT and we must keep it real. This is by no means a perfect album. There are a couple of filler joints we could have done without. We're definitely cool on the David Banner assisted role models or the solo Touch That Ass joint. But by the time you get to the end and hear Ghetto Rich with John Legend and the best song on the album, Let's Get This Paper, any issues you had before are forgiven. He may have given us a more than solid debut with room to grow, but he disappeared off the rap map before he could fully tap into that potential. It would take 6 years for his follow-up to drop. We have no clue what the issue was, but at least he gave us 2 gifts in the form of mixtapes, cause that Bigger Than the Mayor and Kool-Aid Kush and Convertibles tapes were tough. Thankfully, that Bigger Than the Mayor joint is on streaming sites for the win. Drake, Thank Me Later. The debate on whether Drake has a classic album is a strange one if you ask us. The fan favorite go-to answer is usually Take Care. Then there's the better than we give it credit for when it dropped views that people may slide into discussion. We'll accept either one of those answers in addition to the breakout So Far Gone mixtape, of course. The album that never gets thrown out is his debut, Thank Me Later. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Drake's albums, whether it's praise or hate, Thank Me Later is largely forgotten. It's understandable being the middle child in between 2 projects most considered classics isn't an easy place to be. When looking back though, we gotta say, this album needs to be mentioned more when talking debuts of the 2010s era. Ushering in a legion of fellow rapper/singer hybrids, the artist that bragged about having a Sprite deal before an album came out the gate swinging with A-list producers and equally impressive features. How's Board Work from No ID, Kanye West, Boy Wonder, Swiss, and Timbaland sound? What about verses from titans like T.I., Nicki Minaj, Weezy F, Jeezy, and a whole feature that's aged like Nia Long? You know the W's are piled high when even throwaways become top 5 Billboard hits. See the 808s and Heartbreaks left over Find Your Love. Seriously, we'll give 1 skip, 2 max, and a massive first week sales that propelled a 14-year win streak. Wait, are we sure this ain't a classic? Chalk it up to lyrical leaps, improved singing skills, or time to grow the singles catalog, but this overlooked gem deserves a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th look. Waka Flocka, Flockavelli. The last album of the great crunk era that was the mid-2000s. If we had to use one word to describe Gucci Mane affiliate Waka Flocka's debut, it would be action. Because from opening to closing, it's as high energy and action-packed as a John Wick flick. Seriously, if you need motivation to drop those 15 pounds you put on last year, there's plenty of joints here to get you through those dreadful treadmill runs. We'll excuse you if you're not familiar because this project snuck up on a lot of people, as it did modest numbers, only selling 37,000 its first week. Despite going 4 for 4 on singles with hood classics Oh Let's Do It, Hard in the Paint, No Hands, and Grove Street Party. Not known for his lyrical prowess, going multiple bars at a time with just ad-libs. In some spots, it sounds like Waka just learned to rap the day before recording the album, but there's an authenticity in that unrefinedness. He means what he says and you feel it. Now, what we don't feel is many of the features. With all due respect to YG Hoodie, Papa Smurf, and Ice Burgundy, They don't make the most of their appearances, and it's no surprise nothing they released after this landed on our radar. Luckily, more well-known acts like Wale, Roscoe Dash, and Pastor Troy understood their assignments. Special salute to Lex Luger too, as he laced 80% of the production. In terms of subject matter, there isn't much variety, with Flocka pausing the gun bars for "fuck this industry" and maybe one or two joints for the club. But if you came here for conscious, spiritual, lyrical miracle talk, you made a wrong turn, buddy. This ain't it, and that's okay. The Riverdale rapper would only drop one more album and about 1,000 mixtapes, but none to the standard of Flockavelli. An album many consider a down south classic, and we would agree. Hell, even Pitchfork got it right for once. You know what they say about the garbage can and the steak. Prodigy, HNIC. When one half of Mobb Deep decided to go solo, you'd think the streets would be foaming at the mouth. And while HNIC had its moment, it somehow became the underrated cousin of those classic Mobb Deep joints, which is wild because this album is grimy royalty. From the jump, Prodigy let you know this wasn't just a solo flex, this was therapy with a ski mask on. Now let's be real, Prodigy wasn't here to reinvent himself. This wasn't a step into a new lane type of debut. This was keep the same energy in the best way possible. The cold, haunting tone that made the infamous so legendary, still here. The vivid storytelling, even more personal. But this time it felt like we were inside Prodigy's head, not just watching from a QB project window. Tracks like Keep It Thorough and Genesis are New York staples. You Can Never Feel My Pain? That's vulnerability with a razor blade tucked in the verse. And the production, a smooth blend of Alchemist, Havoc, and a young Just Blaze. This album was a reminder that Prodigy was more than just a duo. He was a writer, a street poet with scars and scriptures. Yeah, there's a track or two that could have stayed on the hard drive, but by the time Veterans Memorial hits, you remember why Prodigy was different. Not the flashiest, not the loudest, but always the realest. HNIC didn't chart like it should have, but the legacy is cemented. The title even inspired artists like Wiz Khalifa and a young Kendrick Lamar. Rest in power to a Queensbridge general. Sci-Hi the Prince, No Dope on Sundays. Signing with Kanye West's Good Music imprint in 2010, the same year he stole the show on Ye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the debut album from Sci-Hi the Prince was on many fans' radars. After a few delays, name changes, and playing the background for years as a writer, the Stone Mountain MC finally released his debut album No Dope on Sundays in November of 2017. It easily makes our list today as it's beyond overlooked. It barely made a ripple on the Billboard 200, landing in at number 65, and good luck trying to find those first week numbers. We all knew from his healthy mixtape catalog and Good Friday features, the man could spit like few can. So whether or not bars were going to be present wasn't the question. The concern was, could Prince boldly go where not many ghostwriters have, and that's actually being able to make good songs? At least enough to hold down a full LP. Well, while the album didn't have a big single to speak of, thankfully the man who wrote on every song but one on Yeezus was able to craft a semi-conceptual album. If you've never heard it, think a mix of Good Kid, Mad City and Killer Mike's Grammy-winning Michael. Records like the title track, Free, and Don't Know Why tell the story of a down south D-boy with morals. Whether he's rapping from the perspective of a fetus on 80s Baby or laying down the code of conduct in the ATL streets on Amen, Sci-Hi feels right at home, flowing over production from Lex Luger, 6 Sense, among others. Peep the creativity in the bars on the second verse on Closer, where he says he got called for traveling because he was trying to make it double, stayed at the brick house, but funny the shit was stucco. It's lines like that that had us fiending for a follow-up. As of 2021, Sci-Hi was quoted as saying he has one of the best albums ever created in the stash and that the business was holding things up. Well, can somebody on someone's label get him on the horn ASAPington? In the meantime, in between time, we'll keep spinning this. Well, that is if you have a Tidal subscription. Sorry, Apple Music users. You'll have to settle for YouTube if you want to hear this hidden gem. YG, My Crazy Life. Anybody want to guess the last commercial West Coast classic by an artist not named Kendrick or The Game? Okay, fine, Vince Staples and Tyler the Creator may be on line one, but regardless, YG has a trophy to put on his mantle. Originally named Freshman on Campus, then I'm From Bompton, under the guidance of Young Jeezy, YG settled on My Crazy Life as a title in 2014. Jeezy was instrumental in the Def Jam drop, serving as executive producer, helping YG arrange the project, wisely suggesting he kick off the album with BPT, the perfect record to set the tone. YG says the album is basically a day in the life of him, and you get that vibe immediately with records dipped in LA culture like Bick and Back being Bull, or West Coast party starters like Left Right or Who Do You Love. Even the album cover is as real as it gets, as the mock mugshot speaks directly to his real life incarceration for burglary. Shortly after his release, he had a bidding war between labels before settling on the legacy label Def Jam. Most of the production here is handled by his then right-hand man DJ Mustard. The two had worked on his 400 Degrees mixtape, but this album cemented the two as a dynamic duo. The biggest record to be released from the album was the lead single My Nigga featuring Jeezy and Rich Homie Quan, reaching number 19 on the top 100, going 5 times platinum in the process. Skits sprinkled the track list in similar fashion as Kendrick's Good Kid did just 2 years prior, painting the picture of, well, his crazy life. Speaking of K-Dot, he's featured on one of the hardest records here, Really Be. Ironically, the track before it features Kendrick's arch nemesis Drake. There's also a record on the album that was a little too real for TV though. The controversial Meet the Flockers has YG and an accomplice planning a home invasion. Okay, been there, done that, right? Only thing is, here they get specific on the nationality of the target, which was doing just a little too much. The line in question was later censored on streaming sites. As for YG, one could argue this album was grand opening, grand closing, as his subsequent releases haven't come close to this quality, making this the clear-cut number 1 in his catalog. Kendrick Lamar, Section 80. Before the Pulitzer, before the stadium tours, and before those double-digit Grammy wins, there was Section 80. Kendrick's official debut, even though people treat Good Kid, Mad City like his starting point. Let's clear that up right now. Section 80 walked so Good Kid could take a victory lap. The epitome of underrated, selling only 5,000 copies its first week, topping out at around 130K, it's no wonder many people overlook this. Well, this is the umpteenth example of numbers not meaning a damn thing, because if you know, then you know. The artist formerly known as K-Dot has a debut you can put next to any one of his contemporaries from his class. This album wasn't about big name features or chart-topping singles. It was a mission statement. K-Dot was laying out his worldview, cracked mirrors, crooked smiles, and all. If you didn't know he was different by the time Hold Up hit, then you weren't listening. By Keisha's song and Ronald Reagan era, you knew this wasn't your average blog era rapper. He was mixing philosophy, pain, politics, and bars in a way that felt way too seasoned for a debut. Shout out to the production too. Tay Beast, THC, and Soundwave cooked up beats that felt warm, dusty, and cerebral. It's like you were listening to a dusty West Coast jazz record, but with gunshots in the background. And yeah, we hear you, but this wasn't even on a major label. Exactly. That's what makes it even more impressive. Kendrick dropped this as an independent artist and still shook the rap game up. It didn't have a hit single because it didn't need one. What it had was purpose. Section 80 didn't announce Kendrick as a star, it confirmed him as a prophet in training. And looking back, all the signs were there, we just had to pay attention. Ray Cash, cash on delivery. Okay, before you hit us with the Snoop Dogg Who meme, you know we had to throw a wild card in here. Or shall we say a deep cut. Look, Ray's government name may be Cheeks, however his debut COD was anything but. Repping the east side of Cleveland, Ray flexed hella versatility rapping over multiple types of beats. Down south, soulful, harmonizing, and even backpack. Up until this point, the only reference for hip-hop in Cleveland was the boys from East 1999, and Cash sounded absolutely nothing like them. Maybe we weren't ready, because a few years later, acts like Kid Cudi, Chip the Ripper, and MGK would make noise repping the same area, all with their unique styles. We have an idea of why this album is so slept on. Maybe it was the single Sex Appeal dropping almost 2 years before the album would release. That's absolutely a recipe for disaster and is likely the reason for the dismal 24K units pushed the first week. But we'll tell you this, that was definitely 24,000 satisfied customers because this project had everything. Radio joints like Bump On My Music with Scarface, storytelling records like She's a G, slaps for the Jeep like Take It How You Want It, and deep cuts like Fuck America and Better Way. The latter features Beanie Siegel and is basically This Can't Be Life Part 2. Yes, it's that fire. Thankfully, Cash is lyrically capable of holding his own with more well-known features like Beans, Face Mob, Bun, and Pastor Troy. Dope beats and dope rhymes, what more do you want? After receiving positive reviews from critics and fans who were hip, he disappeared, taking 13 years off before dropping his follow-up album. Yo, if you have any idea what happened to homie, somebody in the comments let us know. Judging by the title of his latest 2024 release, that may be giving us a hint, but we don't want to speculate. Wale, Attention Deficit. One of the dopest to come out of the blog era, Wale's debut maybe didn't hit with the splash he expected, but it's still one of the stronger intros of the 2010s. If you checked out J. Cole's podcast series Inevitable, please do if you haven't, but Cole detailed Wale's reaction to his 28K first week sales, and let's just say he didn't take it well. Perhaps leading with Chillin' featuring Lady Gaga doing her best MIA impersonation as the featured single wasn't the best way to introduce the world to Wale, but hey, hindsight is 2020. The bottom line is the album is terrific. The title of his debut is so appropriate because it feels like rap fans have ADHD when it comes to Folarin's career. Not only is this particular album underrated, but Wale's catalog as a whole is. Is it a hot take to say he has a top 10 discography in hip hop? Top 15 at worst. Now, as far as bangers on this project, 80% of artists would kill to have records like Diary and Beautiful Bliss on their opening project. Pretty Girls, Mama Told Me, and Contemplate require multiple playbacks as well. So Wale may have been down about the initial release, but his career has flourished since, with each of those first 4 releases getting better each time. Seriously, he's got a mean 4-album run that nobody speaks on. But that's why this channel exists, and you can check our thoughts on his full catalog here. We looking forward to that new joint too. That Blanco joint, tough. Freeway, Philadelphia Freeway. In a roster as stacked as The Rock, it's easy for an artist to get overlooked. And when you look at the albums that follow Freeways from the label, it's understandable why this doesn't get the props it deserves. In 2003, Freeway kicked off a mean 5-album run from the ROC. February gave us this project. March, they dropped Diplomatic Immunity. August was State Property 2 and Jewel's debut. Then in November was Hov's Black Album. Sheesh. Regardless of whether Free's debut got lost in the Rockefeller tidal wave that was 03, the fact remains this album slapped. The feature-heavy LP sported verses from label mates Beans and Hov, but also more unlikely collabs with Nate Dogg and Faith Evans, but we aren't complaining, as most deliver. The only skips come courtesy of reaches that feel like they were done because they thought they had to. We get it, Nelly and Snoop were A-listers through this gap, but the 2 records they are on are easily the 2 worst. Thankfully, there's more than enough to spin to make us forget about those. From the tone-setting intro Free, the classic Philly anthem What We Do, and the standout Hear the Song. Although Free's voice was a bit of acquired taste, he undoubtedly was able to craft singles as feel-good joints like Alright and Flipside got him radio spins, and B-sides like Full Effect satisfied the hardcore hip-hop head. An underrated MC that deserves his props, that Philadelphia Freeway was a Rockefeller diamond in the rough. Let us know what underrated debut in the 2000s do y'all have at the top of y'all list. Also, you already know we got that 90s list cooking up too, don't you sweat it. In the meantime, tap into our Patreon for bonus content. Me and Q do reactions of 90s classic Machiavelli and All Eyes on Me, East 1999, and then some. Don't forget, we got Death Row Raised Me and Cash Money Raised Me hoodies and tees in the store. Shop with the boy if you want to support the channel. Until the next video, it's your man CJ for CT. I'm out.